I was 19. Out of high school, I went to college for the first time. And no, it wasn't for me. One semester, I was done. I was out of there. I wanted to go see things, go do things. I was young and full of piss and vinegar and, just wanted to see what was out there. So I took a road trip, right? That's what you do. You take a road trip all by myself in my 1989 Camry hatchback. I love that car. With a one-man tent. I wasn't even thinking that I'd ever be with anybody else on this. It was a one-man tent. It was literally a sleeve that fit over your body with a tiny little frame just to keep the rain off you, and it worked okay. So I traveled across the country, heading west. Eventually made my way to San Diego. That's where my mom was at the point. And, saw her. I was like, I can do my laundry, take a shower for once. Because I was very broke and I was just camping wherever I could, not in campgrounds, just wherever I could by the side of some dirt road or wherever. Cleaned up and everything. That was fine. Then I was like, hey, I'm in San Diego and right there is Mexico. I've never been to Mexico. I should go. Why not? I know nothing about it. I have high school Spanish, so that'll work, right? Sure. So I drive down and I'm like, oh, hey, yeah. And I've heard there's like great surfing down in Baja California. Maybe I'll learn how to surf. Why not? So I'm driving down. I go into Tijuana. I get lost immediately. There's no street signs or signs saying this way down the coast. But I eventually find my way down and I stop at a little village. And this is step one out of my comfort zone. I go in and my Spanish does not work. Fortunately, there were a few people who are like, oh yeah, this is not like a tourist place or anything. This is just like a small village, just people just living their lives. And they're like, oh sure, okay, there's a random gringo who wandered in here. So they eventually managed to talk with me enough in English that I was able to buy some beer, which I was really excited about because I was 19. And I was not the kind of person who would buy beer illegally in the States, but here it was legal, yay! So that was good. I bought a 6-pack of beer, got some food, and then I asked, where could I go to sleep for the night? And they're like, no hotel. I'm like, no. I just want to go sleep like by the beach, right? Very romantic, I thought, very cool. And they were eventually like, okay, yeah, you can go down that way and go down this dirt road and then there's the beach and you can stay there and I don't think anybody will bother you. And I'm like, great. So I go down there, have a couple beers, it gets dark, the stars are out, it's beautiful, I'm really enjoying my time. And I fall asleep and then I wake up at about 2 in the morning and I wake up with this feeling like something is really, really wrong. And I don't know what it is. And I think for a second, I'm like, wait, it's silent. I'm next to the ocean. Why is it silent? And I come out of my little one-man tent, and I look out, and the ocean is gone. Now, I don't know if you know this about the Gulf of California, which is where I was, which, by the way, that's not where the surfing is. That's on the Pacific side. But the Gulf of California is very, very shallow, and this happened to be the night of a king tide. And so the water in the Gulf of California actually goes way out, and it went out farther than I could see it. So I come out of my tent, and the ocean is gone. There's just a huge expanse of mud in front of me, and I'm like, what is going on here? So this is step 2. In my stepping out of my comfort zone, and things are not as I expected. So I go down, there's like a little cliff about 10 feet, and I go down and I start like walking out onto the sand, and I'm looking around like, oh yeah, there's a starfish, that's cool. And I keep going out, and eventually it starts turning into muck. This is not like a perfect sandy expanse, it's muck on the bottom of the ocean. So I'm like, okay, this is not good. I go back, and I go to my tent, and I'm sitting there, and the ocean's still gone, and I just feel really weird. I don't know what's going on. So I'm like, I don't like it here. I think I'm going to leave. Like, okay, yeah, sure, it's 3 in the morning at this point. Why not pack up all your stuff and get in your car and drive off into the darkness with no signs and no idea where you're going? Sure. So just as I'm putting the last of my stuff into my car, I start hearing some howls coming out of the darkness. This is all 100% true. Some howls and barking. I'm like, what is that? I'm like, okay, everything's in, right? Okay, now there's something there. I don't care. I'm getting in the car. So I get in the car, and as I'm driving out of the dirt road, a pack of dogs literally comes out of the darkness and starts chasing my car, like howling and snapping and throwing themselves up against the car. I'm terrified at this point. So I'm driving, okay, like that was a good decision. If I had stayed there, I would have been literally torn apart by wild dogs. So good decision on my point. I keep going, I'm driving, I'm like, all right, you know what? I'm just gonna head back. This whole thing has been a failure. I'm gonna head back to San Diego, get back into my comfort zone, you know, where I know how things work and the ocean doesn't disappear and I won't get torn apart by wild dogs. And I'm driving back, and all of a sudden I'm on the highway. I managed to find the highway, and then I see lights out in front of me, like some flashing lights. I'm like, oh, what's that? I'm like, oh, it's the Mexican army. They have checkpoints all in that area because at this time there were some, you know, people, drug gangs and whatnot, and so they have checkpoints. The Mexican army has regular checkpoints just looking for things like that, and I'm like, oh shit. I have in my trunk, because I was an idiot and I was 19, my friend told me, oh, you're going to be traveling around the country, you should have a gun to protect yourself. And I was like, well, I don't really like guns. He's like, no, you really need to have one. So I had gone to a flea market and gotten like an old used shotgun, which I'd never shot before. I knew nothing about guns. I knew you put the thing in here and then you shoot it. And I, you know, on my trip, I had been out in the middle of nowhere and I did it once against a tree. I was like, holy shit, that's really powerful. I don't like that. I'm not going to do that again. So it had been in my trunk. But what you might not know is that guns in Mexico are really illegal. You cannot have a gun. And so there's a checkpoint, and they're coming up, and they're like, "Yeah, you know, we'd like to see you paper. Who are you? You know, and everything. And we're gonna look in your car." And I'm like, "Oh my god, I'm gonna go to Mexican jail for 10 years." And they're looking through there, and they're like, "Yeah, I also have a little bit of pot in there, probably somewhere. It's probably not good either." And they look through the back, and then the guy stops, and he comes back around to the front, and he's like, "Could you step out for a minute?" And I'm like, oh, this is it, Mexican jail, I'm gonna die, and then when I get back, my parents are gonna kill me. And he just comes back and he says, "Your back tire's kind of low." I'm like, "Oh, thank you very much." And he says, "Have a good night." They did not find the gun. It was down underneath, you know, where the tires and everything. And I drove away, and about 5 miles after that, I stopped and got out and just threw that thing out of the car, which was a good thing, because when I got back to the border, the U.S. border guard looked through my car very carefully because I was a young, scraggly-looking guy, and they wanted to make sure I wasn't bringing back a key of cocaine or anything. So they would have found the gun, and I would have been in deep shit. So that was the last step out of my comfort zone. I drove back feeling all sorts of weirdness, made it back into the United States, and somewhat coincidentally, not on purpose, but I have never been to Mexico since. I would like to. Thank you very much.